And welcome back. And we are about to jump into our conversation for today, focusing on World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day. And it's being celebrated under the theme, Everywhere for Everyone. We have with us this morning, we have Director General of the Belize Red Cross, Lily Bowman. We have Tremaine Mitchell, who is the Youth Focal Point of the Belize Red Cross, and Fred Hunter, Disaster Management Focal Point. Good morning and welcome, and thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having us too.
And happy World Red Cross Day to you.
Thank you, and I'd like to say happy World Red Cross Day to all our colleagues throughout the world.
I like the theme for this year. It speaks to the ubiquity of the Red Cross being everywhere for everyone in times of need, in times of disaster, and what have you. Speak to the meaning of this particular theme as it relates to the Belizean society and the work that the Red Cross has been doing in Belize.
Thank you, Sani. The theme is so very appropriate for the Red Cross on a whole. And it speaks to the universality fundamental principle that we have, showing that we are present in the world in so many 190 countries, and that in itself says that we are really everywhere. In Belize, we have a branch in every district, every administrative district. In the Cayo district, however, we have two branches, one in Belmopan, being the capital city, and one in San Ignacio. In the Belize district, we have a San Pedro branch, and then we have the headquarters that is also a branch, and because we do branch work as well from out there. But we consider ourselves accessible to everybody. We are open to all. While we have office hours at the Secretariat, we're really on call for any emergency at any time. You would find our field officers out working according to the availability of our community members. If they can only be available in the evening, we are right there for them in the evening, coming home all hours of the night just to accommodate them. So we really are everywhere, and for everybody, everyone.
Now, the Red Cross is, of course, one of the organizations in Belize that is a household name. And I think people have associated the work of the Red Cross with more than one thing at this point. At first, it was primarily humanitarian aid following hurricanes. And now we have talked more about prevention and management. And you have even expanded now into communities working with young people and other risks as well. Let's talk about what it means, what you would like the image, or what you hope the image is of the Red Cross for the average Belizean.
I like to consider it as a one-stop station, for instance. Once an issue affects a human being, I'd like to know that we can help. We are there, and we can offer, a diverse menu of services. And you're quite right, Marlene, in saying that we were known mainly for response in disaster, at times of disaster, and also for first aid.
First aid, yeah.
Yeah, but we have, over the years, branched out into anywhere there is human suffering, which includes a lot now we're looking at focusing on development of youth, giving them alternative livelihood avenues, giving them economic opportunities. And Tremaine will talk a lot more about the conflict management workshops that he himself facilitates for our youth. We also work in various areas of health, including participatory health and sanitation transformation, the FAST, which was one that we introduced over the last 4 years in the north. And we look at things like well cleaning, we look at treating your water. So it's not just only when you get sick, what treatment or how you attend to a patient. No, we're looking at mitigation, prevention, and all this in different areas.
Yeah.
The idea of the conflict resolution as it pertains conflict management, sorry, as it pertains to young men and women. Talk to us about your role in that area, Tremaine.
Morning, guys. Okay, my role when it comes to conflict mediation or conflict management, is to give young people an alternative solution when it comes to their everyday conflict. Over the last couple of years, we have been doing a lot of conflict workshops with different groups of young people, not only in Belize, but some up north as well, but primarily focusing on Belize City youths. The results have been significant. The different changes that we have seen in these young people from day one to the completion of the training has been so, words cannot explain how they feel about the training. And as they continue their everyday life, we see that they continue to practice what we teach them. Yeah. So it has been, so like I said, words can't express how they feel or how we feel about the process of this new
How do you identify young people to be part of the program?
How we identify them? Well, recently, we have been working with at-risk youths through different organizations, one being the Youth Apprenticeship Program. And if its main purpose is to target youths who are at risk with the law, who come in conflict with the law. So once you're, I wouldn't say necessarily in or out of school or in a community, but once you're with an organization that recommend you to take this training, then once you're with that organization that we're training, then you can be a part of this training.
Okay, all right.
We have also been offering conflict management in the North under the Resilience in the Americas program that we have been implementing over the last 4 years. And it's coming to a close now, and Fred will talk a lot more about that. But we have been doing that with youths in the Orange Walk and Corozal districts, and we have done it. We have selected them through like the community policing unit and through the IT vet. So they know where the at-risk youth are, and so they are the ones who help us to select them.
Yeah.
The whole focus of working with youth, as well as all the other areas that Ms. Lily was talking about, is that we're looking at community resilience rather than just preparedness. And instead of waiting for something to happen and waiting for the cavalry to come in to the rescue afterwards, we've been working since I started in 2000, actually it was 2007, around Hurricane Dean times, that we started to set up the community disaster response teams from communities in Toledo, in Stan Creek, in Cayo District, in River Valley, and we worked our way up north. By the time we reached north, the whole concept of, instead of just community disaster preparedness, was community resiliency. They do have the preparedness teams there, but we're also working in a lot of it, and that's where the youth empowerment at-risk youth came into the picture.
How do you explain the difference between preparedness versus resilience? What's the difference in a community that is resilient?
Preparedness tends to focus on 1 or 2 or 3 types of disasters, like we'd be prepared for hurricanes, or be prepared for floods, prepared for fires, or prepared for disease outbreaks. Whereas a resilient community is one that is strong in many different, there's 6 resiliency factors we looked at. We had infrastructure, connectedness, organized, know how to manage their natural resources, know how to connect to the outside world, and have economic opportunities for them. It's looking at the holistic picture. A community that is communicating with itself, communicating with the outside world, is aware of themselves, aware of what avenues they have. Anything that happens, they can respond and correct on their own, hopefully without having to depend on help coming from outside.
Yeah.
When you look at that holistic picture, as you've mentioned, is there an area in the country that is seemingly behind in terms of being more resilient you're looking at 6 districts primarily, right?
Every
Is
area
there
in the country is behind.
Everybody needs some work. Yeah.
Yes. Even a lot of us that are sitting in the more developed areas, actually the more developed areas are the more vulnerable areas. You have more vulnerable people and more at risk. And sometimes you don't sleep well at night. And I think our people that we work with in NEMO and in the Ministry of Health and everywhere else, when they think about it, there's a lot of work to be done to be able to really respond to some of the disasters that potentially could happen to us.
The thing is, we took the shift to building resilience, primarily, as Fred had mentioned, to cover a wider scope, a wider area of challenges that may be faced by our communities. Because it's not only waiting for a hurricane or floods, and that was what Preparedness did in the past. Preparedness prepared them for to respond in times of disaster, like hurricane, floods,
Specific
etc.
risks. Yeah.
Yes, but we saw the need to look at social issues. We saw the need to look at what services were existing in the communities for them to access. We thought we saw the need to focus on youths, because a lot of times, especially in the rural communities, there's not a whole lot of things that youths can do. So, giving them alternative avenues to express themselves and to exert their energy, that was one of the things. We also looked at, like, as I mentioned, the sanitation problems that they may be facing. Like in one community or two, there was a garbage situation. We looked at that. All these things that add to their vulnerability within a community. That's what we looked at.
One of the things we've been hearing over the years from the Red Cross is looking at empowerment as well. And I know even in this project, because we've spoken about it before, it is empowering communities to know that they can be resilient for themselves. What are some of the takeaways that people have when they start to realize that if there's a sanitation problem, for example, we as a community can rally together to do something about it? I remember the aftermath of the Majestic Fire. You spoke about giving people money to empower them to rebuild their lives versus material stuff. Talk about what impact that makes and why that is also now an important focus for the organization.
Well,
you want to go community first? Or okay.
No, I was just going to say that specifically talking about giving them cash like we did in the Hurricane Earl. I mean, it is normally in times of disaster, the people that get affected are the most vulnerable. I mean, a lot of other people get affected, but they can help themselves. And the vulnerable at times cannot. You need to assist them. But also in assisting them, you need to give them back their respect and dignity. And so by giving them that money in their hand, of course, a lot of background work was done before that final check was passed on. But at least it gave them some little boost in their what I want to say.
Like a sense of independence. Being
right,
able to provide
and
for themselves.
that we don't go in and say, well, you need this and you need that and you need this. No, I can say that this is what I need. This is my priority. And that is what we were trying to achieve, and we did. And we go back and we check with these people, and they did use the money for the most part for the right thing and for what they said they were going to use it. So,
on the community part of it, one little example: the community that is connected and organized. When we started our participatory hygiene and sanitation transformation program, that it is a each one teach one sort of thing. We use drawings and so we go over the language barriers, literacy barriers, using pictures, and we train a few facilitators that then put together small groups, household groups. What this actually did, it started the whole community communicating with itself and becoming aware of itself. And not just in the health and hygiene areas, but they started to find out about themselves. That, oh, so many kids, and these kids don't have jobs or can't go to school, or maybe this one is trained in that. This one has IT capabilities. This one has mechanical capabilities, etc. The community starts to become aware of itself. They start to communicate with themselves. They start to realize their strengths and weaknesses. And that is part of something that we do in disaster preparedness. We go in and do vulnerability and capacities assessments. So the people become aware of these things, and then anything that happens, they're more aware, and they're communicating with each other. They can run to this one, run to that
So
one.
you build a stronger community.
Yes.
And in the 8 communities in the north with whom we have been working, each of them got different training, like in advocacy, for instance, and each developed an advocacy plan. So we even have some good results in San Victor, for instance. They have advocated on their own for a new water reservoir, and they're getting it.
They've got it.
Or they got it already. I don't know. It hasn't been really officially
open, but it's finished.
It's finished. It's there. They have other projects in the pipeline. We have, because what Fred hasn't mentioned this time is that another difference or another change that we made was apart from the CDRTs, which are the community disaster response teams, we also recruited out of the same communities, formed and trained community support groups. So along with them, the CDRTs and the village council should, the response to any emergency that they face should be stronger.
Yeah, and they'll know what to do.
And the community support groups are like a think tank, and we encourage them to try to get as many opposites as possible. Get the senior citizens as well as the young people, recruit the football team, the softball team, the women's group, everybody. And they actually support community development, not just in areas of disaster prevention or response, but a holistic community development scenario.
So I want to jump back to Tremaine for a bit and talk about it's fantastic to see well-established organizations embracing young people on staff and as well working with other young people. Tell me a bit about what being a part of the Red Cross means for you.
That's a good question. I was thinking about that this morning while coming here. I've been at the Red Cross going for 5 years now. 1 year I started as a volunteer and 3 years as staff. Now I recently went back. For me, it has been something I picked up a passion for. I started out in disaster working with Fred and Miss Jess. Then I went over to do first aid. And now I transition into conflict management, which is something that I enjoy doing, helping young people. Everywhere I go, even at school, I can't stop talking about my job at the Red Cross because it's something fun, and I always encourage young people to come and be a volunteer as well. The opportunities you have as a volunteer, I've had so much trainings under my belt, from disaster to first aid instructor to conflict instructor.
Street mediator.
Street mediators, my apologies, yes. To basic logistics and warehouse training. And that's the thing that I look at. As a young person, I believe you should take your time and use it wisely. Many times you find young people being surrounded by negative things, but if they stop to think a bit and use their time wisely, then they can have a successful future. And that's what I like about being at the Red Cross, because there's a lot of positive things that you can do while being there.
Now, when you look at your individual role as a young person, and you look at all the youth violence happening in Belize City, for instance, in terms of trying to shape the minds as well as the outcome of some of the situations that your peers may find themselves in, how critical do you believe your role has been so far?
Has been very vital because one of the things, like Belize is made up of 70% young people. And as a young person myself, we see today that if you reach 21,
You're lucky
it's
to
good.
be alive.
Yes.
And
My role as being the focal point for young people at the Red Cross is something I take very seriously. Along with my colleague, Ms. Rowland, we try our best to mold these young people, to show them a different avenue that, okay, regardless if people brand you as somebody bad, you're not, because you have potential. We try to show them that they have potential, and young people today have a lot of potential, just that they're not being tapped into. And my role is to assist them.
and tap into that
Yes,
potential.
tap into
I
that
love
potential.
that.
Well said.
All right. Well, we're running out of time very quickly, but I want to just ask, how are you guys celebrating World Red Cross Day?
Well, every branch has their own set of activities. They all started with church service yesterday, and we'll continue throughout the week. I think we are going to have a street beat sometime this week, headed by Tremaine and our next colleague. And it is really to walk through the streets or find a spot and talk to people about the Red Cross, starting, did you know? So and so and so. So that's our little catchphrase for this celebration, did you know? And you know, a lot of people don't know. No matter how many times you're out there, you're visible we're at every health fair that we could attend. We're at the expo, we're at Agric show, we're at, all over the place. We are delivering our services in communities in the city. I talk all day long about Red Cross if I could. And that's why I'm so happy to hear that he is getting into that. And still people don't know. So we'll be asking, did you know at the Red Cross, so on, so on.
And there is such a wide variety of services offered at the Red Cross. I think every time you guys come back, we find out about something new that's happening. And you also rely very heavily on your volunteer base. So is this also going to be a time of recruitment as well?
We never stop recruiting, Marlene. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. And like what we always say, if you only have 1 hour, we'll take that. It's what we are, that's our base, volunteers. The little number of staff at the Secretariat is not the Red Cross. We are just the coordinators. So yes, we are very, very grateful for all the work that our volunteers have been doing over the years, but we still need more. We are looking for skilled volunteers as well, people with accounting experience, people with organizational development experience, and a lot of different areas, but we do need like IT and so forth. We need a lot of skilled volunteers.
All right.
And we, of course, we have to talk quickly about preparedness.
Well,
The big hurricane season is.
I was going to say, go ahead.
No, actually, we need the more people we have, the more varied skills we have to give back. That's why I like to say engineers. But engineers, not just structural, but engineers of life. So the more people that can come with their skills and then give them back to the community and communicate with each other, that's what we need. And that's how we can have a holistic approach, by having a holistic input into that approach.
Okay. And we're going to have you guys back to work through that family plan for preparedness, because we know the hurricane season is coming up. And while most people should have an idea of their plan by now, we're going to sit down and be able to do it as well.
Sure.
But thank you very much for stopping in. Thank you for the work that the organization does for the communities, and happy World Red Cross Day to you.
Thank you for your support. You're always so accommodating when we want to come on air, and that's a big support for us. So thank you, and we thank all our donors and supporters out there.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take that final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up. So stay tuned.